Moving along now to our next guest, matter of seconds, we're going to be joined by one of, if not the greatest of all time, the living legend, Georges St-Pierre. Everyone has been wondering, is he going to come back? It has been almost a year since his last fight, November of 2017 to be exact, UFC 217. Georges St-Pierre made history when he defeated Michael Bisping at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. He became the two-division champion. Of course, longtime welterweight champion. Then he became the middleweight champion. We have not seen him since. He has popped up here and there on social media. Lots of discussion about his weight. Lots of discussion about his future. Lots of discussion about who he might fight upon his return. And I know after UFC 229, a lot of you have been wondering when he will return, where he will return, who he will return against. So without further ado, let us go to the phone lines and say hello to one of the greatest ever, the pride of Saint Isidore, Quebec, Canada, the one and only Georges Rush St-Pierre.
George, hi, Ariel. How are you?
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Great as always to talk to you, George. And I'm not going to waste any time right off the bat. I have been asked a million times when I told the world that you were coming on the show. You know what's the number one question that I was asked?
I bet is when I'm fighting again or something like that.
Nope. How much do you weigh? That's what everyone wants to know. How much does Georges St-Pierre weigh right now? That's what the world wants to know. So tell us.
I wake up in the morning. I'm 183 pounds.
183 pounds. And how does that compare to when you were fighting, as a welterweight regularly?
I'm about the same. The thing is, I carry probably less. I discover a lot of things like recently because of my health issue that I had. So I got into intermittent fasting, time restricted eating, and I started to read a little bit more about stuff like that because I didn't want this thing to come back. And I feel better. I'm way more lean than I used to be, and I feel like I actually didn't lose muscle mass. I might have gained muscle mass, but I might be smaller on the scale and less water retention, more lean mass, and maybe like less fat, more lean. So that's how it is.
Okay, so let's take a step back. Let's hold that thought as we're looking at some photos of you here. You're looking great. How are you feeling? How's your battle with colitis?
No, I feel very good. I haven't got the symptom for a long time now. And it's a medication that is a base of cortisone. So you have to dose down every month. You cannot, right away stop the medication because the symptom will come back. That's what I tried to do in the beginning. When I first started doing intermittent fasting, time restricted eating, I started feeling very well, very fast. So I stopped the medication right away, but my symptom came back earlier this year. So now I have I still do the fasting, but I dose down every month, and until I wouldn't need it anymore. So I'm very confident will be clear soon. So I'm very happy.
Okay, and why did it come back? Do you have any idea?
I think they don't know. They say it could be the stress, but colitis is something that you stay with for the rest of your life. So you can heal all the symptoms, but it's something that you have for the rest of your life, apparently. But if you don't have the symptom, it's like you don't have it, so it's a good thing. It's a good news. It's a bad news and a good news in the same time.
Right. So if you did want to resume your career, this wouldn't stop you, right?
That could stop me if, the symptoms are there. But, when you fight, everything amplified because the stress. I think the stress is the main cause, is the precursor of most of the modern illness that we have in our society. And I think that's what get to me, the stress, and also the fact that I tried to put on some weight during my last training camp, and I eat like crazy. And I think all that had to do, and plus, of course, a genetic component, because in my family, there's an history of digestive and intestinal disease, like cancer, colon cancer, and stuff like that. So that's why I'm very paranoid about that. I'm very careful when it comes to this.
Almost a year later, is there any part of you that regrets doing this, moving up in weight, putting your body through this?
I do not regret moving up in weight, Ariel. However, if I would have to do it again, I would have done it differently. I would have stayed the same weight that I normally walk around at, and I would have. I discovered a lot of things through this training camp. It was a good thing. I've learned a lot of stuff, and so I don't regret it, even though it's a lot of things that I've did wrong. I think it was a learning experience.
Are you keeping tabs on the sport of MMA, or have you taken a break from watching and from following it?
I don't watch every sport. I watch only a few one that I enjoy to watch. I watch the big fights. There's too many now that I don't watch everything. I just watch the one that I like to watch.
Did you watch UFC 229 and in particular Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Oh yeah, for sure I watch it. That was the biggest fight, I think, in terms of promotional, the biggest fight of the history of the UFC. I believe if when it comes down to the numbers, Khabib did an incredible job. He made it almost look easy in a way. Like he shut down McGregor's game completely. It was an incredible performance.
Okay, were you surprised by his performance, or were you surprised by anything Conor did or didn't do?
I actually, if you look at my prediction, I actually gave Khabib the winners. I thought Khabib was going to win. It was similar of what I thought. I thought he would have to repetitively put him down, and the fact that he's also a good striker, maybe not as good as Conor in terms of pure striking, but the fact that he's threatening Conor with the takedown all the time, he would have opened up the chance for striking as well and make him guessing. And for that reason, I thought he had more ways to win the fight than Conor did. And that's why I gave him the winners of that fight.
What did you think of Conor's takedown defense? We had Daniel Cormier on earlier, and he said that he actually did a little better than he thought he would.
Yeah, he did well. He did well. The only thing is, if you look at most of the fight, where the fight took place, it was mostly Khabib's fight. It was a fight that was a lot of transition, a lot of grinding against the fence, a lot of ground, a lot of fake down and up, changing level. So that's what Khabib is the most efficient at. It was not a pure striking and distance control stand-up fight like Conor is the most efficient as. So it was like it was like Khabib chose the territory where the fight took place, and that's why he won. He was more efficient. And that's why Conor got tired quickly, and he had opened up for different opportunity, and he finished the fight.
What did you think of the aftermath, the melee, the brawl, the way everyone acted? What were you thinking when you watched that?
From a North American mentality standpoint, it's bad. Of course, it's bad. You don't jump in the fence, and even if you have guys that jump inside the fence to punch another fighter, it's bad. However, we did not grow up in the same environment than Khabib grew up. There are certain things that you can say to different people of different culture that is unforgivable. You know what I mean? And I believe that Conor crossed the line in that regards. If he would have said, I don't know, if he would have when I sign up to a fight, I'm ready to get insulted, especially if I fight Conor McGregor. I'm ready. I know that he's there's gonna be casualty. Even on my side, in terms of insulting, he's going to insult me, my cornerman, my coaches, probably my family. I'm ready for that. But like I said, it's different culture. I did not grow up in the same environment Khabib grew up, but in his culture, it's clear that you don't do things like this. This is a very severe things to do. And subconsciously, Khabib, the way he grew up, I believe he's been trained to not for a matter of title fights and fight purse. for a matter of life and death. You know, like in the environment where you grew up, it's pretty rough. You know, like it's a different mentality. You know, the carcasses is a different mentality. So I believe when you talk bad to an individual that come from these environment, you have to be ready to get into a fight. It's not like a promotion. It's a fight. In North America, we're used to that kind of circus because, you know, WWE, all our reality show, you know, and all that that we see on TV. But if you grew up in this environment, I don't believe they have stuff like that on TV. You know, I mean, not to that extreme. And then therefore you create different mentality, different and individual. You know, you have to respect that. We all grew up in different environment and different culture, so we have to know who you have to know who you talk to when you insult someone.
Do you think the UFC is to blame for promoting the fight the way they did, or for allowing Conor to say the things that he said?
Well, it's hard to say. UFC is a business, you know. It's nobody really got hurt bad.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, like it's. Well, you know, people say, "Oh, it's the first time it happened." No, it's not the first time. I remember Jason Mayhem Miller jump into the ring after a fight to challenge, I think, Jake Shield and then Nick Diaz. But it's not the first time that it happened. You go to a full contact fight. You know, it's a lot of drunk people, a lot of people in the crowd. People get emotional, and sometimes even in the crowd, you see some crazy things like this. If you look at me, Ariel, people always ask me, it's like, George, you don't really talk about your personal life. You know, all my Instagram posts, all my stuff, you never see a member of my family in it. Because I know when I'm fighting someone, it's a war. It's the mental warfare start, like, when you sign the contract. And for sure, sometimes it's a question of, you know, are you going to put your kids in college or not? Are you going to make it big? Are you going to make a lot of money or not? It changed your lifestyle. So I don't want any people of my family get involved into that business. So that's why I don't ever post a picture of member of my families on the social media. Never. Because I know it could be a weakness that my opponent could explore. And when I go to war with my training partner, my partner. I don't go to war with my family. So this is something that I keep strictly business. And I think it's a lesson to take of it, you know, in a way.
Last month when you were in Australia, you said you were interested potentially in the winner. So the winner is Khabib. Do you want to fight Khabib next?
I know Khabib has impressed the desire to fight me before the fight. I felt before the fight that it was a lot of contender, and it was like already done it at 185 and stepping over the line again. I felt I didn't feel good in that, and also I had my the colitis symptom to take care of. Now I was watching the fight, to tell you the truth, but I don't think the UFC would want me to fight for a title at 155 because they don't want me to run up to the sunset again with a title if that happened, you know.
Okay, so you don't think that fight is going to be offered to you?
I don't think it will happen, and also now the thing is, with what happened, I don't know if it's going to be sanctioned. I don't know if it's going to be a rematch. I think it could be the perfect publicity for a rematch in a way, but I don't know if that's what Khabib wants, you know. And he feels greatly disrespected by the UFC. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of Conor and Khabib and all the 155 pound division.
But what if they said to you, what do you want to do next? Is that the fight that interests you the most right now? Being the first guy to beat him?
Well, you know, I always says that the thing that excites me the most, it's when I could be the first to do something. You know, when something cannot be done, people doubt me. They're like, oh, it's impossible to do. You would never do that. And then he's a great champion in terms of legacy. I can't think of a better man and a fighter right now who has a better legacy than Khabib in terms of popularity, also legacy, and if you look at the through the real fighter, not only as who sells the most, but in terms of who's the real top pound for pound fighter. I think he ranked right up there.
Do you think you can make 155?
I think I could. I'm not 100% sure. I think I could. Yes, if I'm. It's like a marathon training. Ariel. People like, oh, did you try to cut down at 155? I never did because it's useless. It's like a marathon. When you train a marathon, you don't train. You don't make a marathon in training. You do a little bit less than a marathon. You run maybe one third of it. That's the maximum you'll do. And it's the same thing. You never cut weight to try to cut weight. It's not an LT thing. It's very bad.
It's obvious that this year is done as far as like the UFC booking fights. What are the chances you fight in 2019?
It's a big chance. Sometime, Ariel, I'm not gonna lie. When times fly, sometimes I feel like I want to fight. I'm very excited to fight. And some other time when I see different things, I feel like I'm shit, man. I look at myself and I say, what do I have to gain? And then is it worth it? It's always going to be another one and another one. And of course, the competitor inside of me always wanted to fight, and I know I'm capable. It's not that I can't. I'm capable of fighting. I think I'm in my prime right now, but it's just that sometimes I'm thinking, I'm like, the motivation, it's not the same that it used to be. I don't have the motivation to go through the lineup again and to fight my way up to another title. I'm done with this. I've done it for so many years, and you know what I mean? You reach a point in your career that you want to do things different. And that's why this fight with Bisping was different, because it was a super fight. And for me, that's what I look for. It's more like super fight if I ever fight. I don't want to go back into another mix of I have like 5 fights away from a big fight. I wouldn't mind to fight guys that are in terms of novelty fight, like big fights, that have great legacy, but not to go back as a contender and then defend it again and again and again. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not motivated for that anymore. I could lie and pretend I am, but I am not.
So is there any fight that really motivates you, that would get you back in there and motivate you to go through the whole training camp?
Yeah, it's also as the fight, but also when is the fight is, according to the symptom of colitis. Not right now, it's going very well. And if everything goes well, I think I could do it in 2019. Yes, I think I could do it early 2019 if everything goes well.
As far as the name?
As far as the name, like you mentioned Khabib. Khabib is the one I would say is the most in terms of legacy. Could be him. Yeah, it's hard for me to when you're not in a mental fight mode. It's hard for me to pick a guy, and I don't like to call up guys as well.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking you to call anyone out. I was just wondering like who kind of gets you excited when you think about the possibility of testing yourself against them.
Because every time I talk, Ariel, every time I talk or I say something, things get misinterpreted and it's crazy. Like all the time, like the John Jones thing. That's one thing I wanted to say. Like John Jones got angry. I saw on the social media he got angry at me because of the steroid thing. And when I read it in the beginning, I didn't. My friend, he sent me the post on the Instagram, and I didn't understand because I was not targeting John Jones. I was not talking about John Jones. And then I realized that John Jones, he win with a head kick against Daniel Cormier, but I was not targeting stuff. So I was talking about like performance enhancing drugs, and if they were talking about like, oh, should we remove people when they get cut for performance enhancing drug? And I say often everything is different. It's a gray line. It's not black or white. If you look, some guys they've been cut on performance enhancing drug. After they got cut, their performance diminished. It's like they're not the same fighter anymore. But if you look at John Jones, like John Jones has been pretty constant, and he claims that I believe from what I've heard from the report, is the substance, one of the substance got tainted, so it's not something that he have, what he tests positive for, it's not something that he have took. I think it's a supplement that got tainted or whatever. So I don't want him, I was not targeting him, especially. I had a good relationship with John Jones. I trained with him, and I felt bad. I know he has to go through some tough time now because the USADA and all that, the drama that goes around. And one thing I don't want to do is like to push a guy down when he's down, when things doesn't go well. And if I think someone can come back from and to be champion in those circumstances, I think it's John Jones. I think John Jones, he can do it. I think he's a very talented guy, and I think he can do it. He can go back champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I appreciate you clearing that up, George.
So when I talk, sometimes I say stuff like people say, "Oh, you want to fight this guy? He says this, he says that." Is I need to be very careful sometimes when I speak, and people misinterpret it. And if you look at, I was talking about head kick.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys that got caught on performance enhancing drug that win with a head kick their fight. So I was not targeting John Jones. I was targeting a lot of guys. You see that when they win with a head kick or whatever, you ask your question: would they have done the same type of technique or would have performed the same if they would not have been on performance enhancing drug? And the question is no. I still believe that.
Well, don't worry. No one listens to this show, so if you say someone, no one's going to hear it or make a big deal out of it.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. What? Every time Tyron Woodley fights, he says he's the best ever, and everyone wants to see you fight him. But I feel like there's no way you're ever going back to 170 because you keep telling us you've been there, done that. Do you see any scenario that you fight him for the belt to decide who's the best at 170?
No, I could, yeah. It's just, like I said, right now, he's not... Like, I mean, he's a great fighter, Tyron Woodley. He's very good, but in terms of legacy, I feel like there's nobody, like, if you ask me who's got the best legacy right now in the fight game, I think it's Khabib who's way ahead of everybody because he's undefeated. He beat Conor McGregor. He's got the fame. He's got the, you know what I mean? That's what the fight game is about. It's like a stock market. Who's got the highest stock? But I have to say that Tyron Woodley, his last performance was amazing. Like, and he's doing very well now. He's making a big name for himself, and things like to get a legacy in the sport, it doesn't come in one day. You know what I mean? Like, it took me 9 title defense to get the name that I have. Like it doesn't come in one day. It's not after one single fight that people are like, oh my God, he's the best. Like unless you fight like a guy sometimes who's like, for example, Conor McGregor would help a legacy because of his name, of the promotion, his awareness. You know what I mean? But if you talk about most of regular fighter, you have to fight different guys to build up your own legacy. It's not something that necessarily you can steal from someone. I mean, you can at a certain extent, but not. People they want to steal. They want to fight me because they want to steal my legacy. They want to steal my money. People want to fight Conor because they want to steal. They want to have the money. It doesn't go like that, all the time.
So I just want to make sure that I understand you correctly. You are open to fighting. It has to make sense, but it also sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's a very good chance you never fight again. If nothing comes your way, you're content. You did it all. You will be okay, at peace with that. Is that accurate? Yeah. More and more reserved to that idea now. Yeah. Okay. Would it say that you're closer to that idea than you are to fighting?
Yeah. The more time pass, the more I'm like, you know what I mean? I sell a lot of stuff, and I'm like, it's a lot of drama in the sport, and sometimes I'm thinking, I'm like, would I really want to go back into that? And it's like the motivation goes down, and this is normal. I get older, and then it's normal,
Yeah, at some point, are you the kind of person who will one day say, I'm done? Like, you will announce your retirement, I'm done? Or do you think you'll just let it, be open-ended forever?
100%. 100%. I will say it.
How close are you to making that decision?
I don't know. I don't make it because, now the big issue now for fighting for me is the symptom of colitis. I have to get rid of my medication, and once I got the dose down where I want it to be, I'll make decision, and see what's happened, But right now I'm not ready to sign a fight deal right now as we speak, So mentally I'm not. I don't want to fight right now. Right now, no.
Does it feel like 2019, as you approach 38, is important in terms of deciding, will I keep this door open or close it? Like, is it possible you make your decision next year whether you continue or end the career once and for all?
100%. 100%.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And so, do you think you're just going to the UFC? Do they contact you? I know they contacted you about Nate Diaz, but do they contact you about other fights, or do they kind of leave you alone at this point?
They contact me for Nate Diaz for a fight in November, but it was too close. I couldn't take a fight in November, so it was too fast November.
Okay.
It was I think October, if I believe. I think it was October. It was my agent, but it's too fast in terms because I have to dose down the medication, and now I'm almost done. So I want to make sure I'm done. My health is number one priority. I want to take care of this.
Does Nate interest you on a normal timeline or not really?
Nah, hell no. Nate Diaz, I don't want to fight Nate Diaz. I mean he's a big name, and I know a lot of guys want to fight him. I have everything to lose, nothing to gain fighting Nate.
Right.
I fought his older brother, that I believe was better than him. I've done it. I don't want to fight him. Yeah.
Once your career eventually ends, what do you think you'll do? Like, how will you pass the time? How will you earn a living? Have you started to think about that already?
Oh, I'm already set, Ariel. I have different company that I'm involved with, different investment, real estate as well. I'm in terms of money, I don't need the money. I don't need to do anything for the rest of my life. If I don't spend like an idiot, I'm good. I'm one of the rare guys that I can brag about that I don't like to say I beat the sport, but I came out on top of it, healthy and wealthy, and wow. I want to keep it this way.
So then, what's the point? Just what I can't even imagine, considering you beat it, healthy and wealthy, you're safe and sound, you beat the system. I can't imagine going back through the whole circus.
I agree, but in same thing, when I'm in training, like today I just finished training, I feel freaking awesome.
Okay.
Even when I go with my training partner, I feel great. I feel like I am even better than I was, and the competitor inside of me want me to return sometime, and I want to return as a competitor, but I need to listen to the logic as well. It needs to be worth it, something that is worth it, that I have to gain, that I can gain from it, you know what I mean?
Maybe Olympics, gymnastics, wrestling?
Yeah, there's no chance about it.
No?
It's pretty bad. No, hell no.
All right. Well, George, you have been so gracious with your time today. I really appreciate it. You've given us a lot to chew on, a lot to think about, and that's what you usually do. And it's always such a pleasure and an honor to talk to you. I don't take it for granted as well. It's really a special treat for us. So thank you very much for the time. And by the way, TriStar doing great things. Mandel Nallo this past weekend, and you have some other guys coming up. It's very cool to see the Montreal MMA scene continue to thrive.
Mandel has been training for a long time. He's one of he's going to be, I believe he's going to be world champion one day. He's an amazing fighter. And, what I can say to resume this whole thing, it sucks to get old, Ariel.
I know it very well. Whenever you make that decision, George, you always have a home here. Would love to hear from you again. So I hope that you enjoy the holiday season coming up and take some time to decide what's best for you. And then we could talk to you again soon in the near future.
Thank you very much. Take care, Joe.
Appreciate it. There he is, the one and only Georges St-Pierre. Very interesting. It sounded like at first he was talking about going down. It sounded like at first he was sort of inching towards that. And then all of a sudden, kind of threw me a curveball there. And it sounds like as time passes, the more the clock ticks, the more the calendar turns, the chances of him ever fighting again are less and less. And I wouldn't be surprised at this point if we have, in fact, seen the last of him. I think he is very astute in his observation that it's going to be tough to get another title shot after, vacating the welterweight title, vacating the middleweight title.